So I made the mistake of checking my comments while I was doing some cleanup uh, in my channel, and realized there was a bunch of responses to previous replies that I haven't seen, and most of it stemmed from these folks going back and forth with me about foundational Black Americans and immigration, and I'm going to address both of those here. Okay, because some of these folks in my comment section are cognitively challenged, which kind of is sort of the par for uh, uh, par for the course when it comes to YouTube commenters generally. So, I've made a few videos talking about foundational Black Americans versus Black immigrants and stuff like that, and I've talked on deportations and illegal immigration. And so people are going back and forth with me in these comments. So I'm going to make this clear for these idiots. Um, so for the people mad that Black Americans aren't supporting these immigrants getting deported, look, they didn't support us in our struggle. As a matter of fact, most of them wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Black people. Okay. So people don't know American history, especially these immigrants. They don't know that the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965 was largely supported by the same civil rights leaders who worked tirelessly for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. These were the same folks, okay? Before then, there were not huge waves of immigrants coming to this country outside of Europe. And even the ones in Europe who came from Southern and Eastern Europe weren't treated well. Okay. Um, and so, like I said, they didn't support us in our struggles for civil rights or against things like police brutality and other things. And they made it a consistent habit that when they came here, they separated themselves from Black people. And I'm talking about both Black and Latino groups because there's supposed to be this whole Black and Brown coalition. There's no Black and Brown coalition. What it is that when Latinos needed help when it came to their civil rights, Black people support them, but you rarely saw it the other way around. It was a one-sided coalition, and we're done with it. Um, Now, a lot of Black people were pissed off that Trump got elected, and seeing that like over 60% of Latinos supported Trump re-election. A lot of Black people were miffed about that. Now I'm not miffed about that because I did vote for Trump. I wanted him in, but I am in the minority of Black people who wanted him. Um, but a lot of them who were against him, seeing all these Latinos vote for Trump, and now they getting deported. Them like you're getting your you're getting your just due. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Whatever. So there's that, and then there's the fact that some of these immigrants are saying they don't want to get deported while waving the same flag of the country that they don't want it to get deported. Like, wouldn't it make more sense if you're against being deported to your mother country to wave the American flag and not block the fucking freeway in LA? I get that that's a hot spot in California to do protesting, but all you're doing is like hurting your cause. As I've said in a previous video, activists are the worst people to support any sort of social cause. But in any case, we don't have sympathy for you. You didn't support us. You've active like even within, and some people don't know about this because I do have Afro-Latinos in my family. Um, Even within the Latino community, it's hugely colorist. They talk so much trash about Afro-Latinos within the Latino community. Some of you don't know that. I mean, some of you who are Latino know that, and some of you who are Afro-Latino definitely know that. But they they shit on Afro-Latinos, like they actively talk trash about them. So not only do they look down upon foundational Black Americans, they even look down upon the Black people within the Latino culture. So no, we're not supporting you. Go the fuck back to Venezuela, El Salvador, and everywhere else. Like, you want people down for la raza, but when were you down with us? So whatever. So, and again, these same folks show their true colors by openly, ridiculing black people, saying that's why you guys are a bunch of slaves and mayates and all this other sort of stuff, right? And saying, other, derisive things. So that's why we're not supporting you. Largely, most black people, even if they're mad at Trump about a lot of things, most of us are done with this whole immigration issue. Moving on. So now we're going to talk about these tethers, these black immigrants who set themselves apart from foundational black Americans. And now they're in their feelings because they're getting deported too. Um, both both these Latinos and these black immigrants don't understand something about American culture because they're immigrants. What they don't understand is, despite all the violence, all the enmity between white and black Americans, there is a unstated social contract that white and black Americans are the real Americans. And immigrants don't understand that. Some of these Latinos and Indians and Asians work so hard to be white adjacent until that card gets pulled. their honorary white card gets pulled and is sent back to their country. Black people can't be sent back to their country because they don't have another country. This is our country here. This is our country. Okay? I don't think some of you get that. This is our country. We have literally been here since 1619, meaning that black Americans have been here before the Mayflower arrived in 1620. Okay? And a lot of those early black people who came here weren't even slaves. Some of them, mostly all of them were indentured servants, and a lot of them were freed. They formed what became the base of the black elite in America. And some of them owned slaves themselves and traded slaves and bought slaves. It's a nasty part of history, but it's facts. We've had a black elite since the earliest times of American history. And a lot of these black immigrants weren't coming here in waves until the 70s, late 60s, because of the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965. And so a lot of them are in their feelings because they're getting deported, like those 500,000 Haitians sent back to their country, those thousands of Jamaicans sent back to their country. Their own prime minister said, y'all better come here and behave, because if not, you're going to be seeing the judge or you're going to be seeing your maker. That literally came out the mouth of the Jamaican prime minister. The Haitians, yeah. And so all these black immigrants for decades have talked so much trash about foundational black Americans, right? Saying you guys are lazy. How couldn't you thrive in this country where we're all being successful and rich? You're only successful and rich here because of the work that we did so that you could come here in the first place. Also, because of immigration policies, they only allow the successful individuals from your countries to come here in the first place. And if you guys were such go-getters, why are all of you from a bunch of failed states? Why are all of you who are talking so much trash about black Americans coming from countries that are complete trash? They're failed states. Your governments are completely corrupt. Everyone in those countries are poor. I mean, even Austin Holloman talked about in some of these African countries, like you have to go outside to take a shit. So what's up with that, right? And then and I have like someone saying, well, I don't rock with foundational black Americans, so FBA only rock with the black Americans who call themselves freedmen or Americans descendants of slavery. Who the fuck cares what you think? Like, you're not in a position to tell black Americans how to self-identify. And ADOS isn't a great label anyway, because like I said, not all foundational black Americans were slaves, as I just outlined, from stemming all the way from 1619, the beginning. And freedman is a cool label as well. But again, you can't tell people how to self-identify. And freedman, again, makes the mistake of saying all of us were slaves. And that simply wasn't true. Then this person or another one goes on to say, well, a lot of your civil rights leaders were Caribbean Americans. We were all unified. Like, were we though? So yeah, so they point out people like Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X and others who had a Caribbean heritage. So two things about that. First, Marcus Garvey was a complete fraud and a con man. No one gives a fuck about Marcus Garvey, other than these Pan-Africanists, and every Pan-Africanist I know is full of shit. Your Dr. Umars and everyone else. Secondly, even those folks like the honorable, like the honorable minister, Farrakhan, or people like Malcolm X, yeah, they may have a Caribbean heritage, but they were black first. They didn't put themselves aside from black people. Never did you hear of Farrakhan or Malcolm X, bringing up their Caribbean heritage to say they were better than foundational black Americans. They were of the culture. That's first of all, they were of the culture. So, and on top of that, they aren't the only ones in the civil rights movement. Like, you forget people like Martin Luther King and all these other folks. By and large, most of the people who made up the civil rights movement were foundational black Americans from the American South. By and large, the fact that you can point out memorable Caribbean folks like W.B. Du Bois and Malcolm X and others just shows the fact that the majority of people within the movement are foundational black Americans. Obviously. If you can bring up examples of people who aren't, that means that they are the exceptions that prove the rule. A little logic for you. So, and then, so then you got these tethers talking about, well, but look at what you guys did. Again, I don't want to hear anyone who ran from their country instead of fixing their country. See, black Americans didn't run from their country, even though Marcus Garvey tried to provide them that avenue of fleeing to Africa and becoming segregationists. This is why I completely disagree with segregationists. Even some of my friends who talk that segregation is dumb shit. Like, no. Are there trade-offs with integration? Of course. In real life, everything has trade-offs. But the benefits of integration far outweigh the cost. So that whole segregationist shit is for the birds. I know you've heard one of my friends talk that in my videos. I completely disagree. Segregation is stupid. Being an ethnic minority and segregating yourself from the main culture or ethnic group does not make sense. And again, these black tethers come into our countries talking shit. You weren't even, like, you had to come to another country to be successful because you couldn't be successful on your own. In East Africa, you had Indians doing better than you and Asians doing better than you. In West Africa, you had people from the Middle East doing better than you. And so you guys vilify them and even tried to, unalive them or kick them out of your country because they were doing better than you in your own country. So for all these Africans talking trash, you guys are from a continent with the most abundant natural resources in the world and can't even make that work. And after colonialism, what is your excuse? Post-colonialism? Yeah, okay. If that's why is now the Chinese running you with their Belt and Roads Initiative? Now they're running the continent. Like, you guys are, and on top of that, the other snide remark is that foundational black Americans aren't a lineage. Yes, we are a lineage. We're definitely a lineage. Most people can tell the difference between black Americans and Africans. Like, Africans do not look like us. You guys got those, let me stop. So you guys got them features. Like, even Dave Chappelle made fun of this a long time ago in a stand-up special. He was like, He said, Africans be looking at Black Americans like, you diluted fuck. He said, you see me, my nose, it is strong. I even had like a Nigerian woman I once dated. She was like, your lips and noses. She told me about my nose and my lips were too small. Whatever. So whatever. Um, that's because we are a lineage. We are distinct. First of all, we're not from all over Africa. Black Americans come from specific parts of West and Central Africa, coastal coastal regions where they raided those places and enslaved those people. So that's number one. So they are only from specific parts of Western and Central Africa along the coast. Two, in the antebellum South, we intermingled with Europeans, sometimes Native Americans, and others. So we are genetically distinct from our cousins back overseas, and that's why we look differently than them. Like maybe some white and Asian people can't tell us apart, but black people can definitely tell each other apart. Like we know black Americans from Africans. With Caribbeans, is not exactly the same because Caribbeans have also intermingled a lot with European and Asian ancestry as well. But we don't consider Caribbeans the same as us either. For the same reason, Indians don't consider Indians from the Caribbean the same as them. I had my longtime best friend was Indian, and he told me like, yeah, that like he would make fun of Indians coming from India. He was like, man, they're a bunch of fobs. I was like, fobs? What's that? He was like, fresh off the boat. I'm like, oh, okay. And he would laugh because he would see how goofy they would act. Like the guys had hygiene problems. Their behavior was a little bit differently than Indian Americans. And he talked about Indians from the Caribbean, like Guyana and stuff like that, because his girlfriend's best friend was from Guyana. He's like, well, she ain't really Indian. I was like, wait, she's not? He was like, yeah. I was like, she looks Indian to me. He's like, no, man, she's from Guyana. He's like, they're different. I was like, how so? He was like, it's just like you can tell. He's like, man, he said, just like you can tell a difference between black people and Africans. He's like, that's how we can tell a difference between like Indians and people from like places like Guyana. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So yeah, black Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, are a lineage. We're genetically distinct. Most of us are at least about 20% European, give or take, give or take 5%. So yeah, I mean, we are a genetically distinct group from from Black Africans. Not only that, we have differences in 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 average IQs. Like every ethnic group has a different average IQ. And you can even tease apart Black Americans from Black Africans. Black Africans have the lowest average IQ of every ethnic group on the face of the earth. Kind of shows in their poor results of their countries, but that's a different topic, right? But yeah, they score the lowest in IQ. They have some of the worst health in the world. I mean, yes, a lot of that's due to poverty. So I don't want to, but again, that goes back to the point that they shouldn't be coming here talking shit about Black Americans are lazy, that they can't be successful and all this other sort of stuff when all of their countries are failed states. Like, yeah, yes, Africa would be a great place to visit. There's like over 50 countries to visit. But, you know, outside of what, maybe Egypt, like, name me one that's like successful. I'll wait. But while I'm waiting, yeah, these immigrants, keep foundational Black Americans name out your mouth. You're not gonna get our support when you weren't supporting us. And the Trump thing was really the last straw. Again, I supported Trump, but most Black Americans didn't. So when they saw like over 60% of Latinos supporting Trump, and now they're getting deported, they're thinking you're getting your just due. Like it's a bit of shot, like it's a bit of Schadenfreude there, right? And as far as black immigrants talking trash because now they getting sent back home, and they're like, what's up with our black brothers? And saying y'all need to stop trying to distinguish yourselves from us. No, we're going to distinguish ourselves from you because you delineate yourselves from us for decades. Like your parents told you not to hang out with us and talk with us because you are different, and that those black Americans are all violent and stupid and all that sort of stuff. We know what your parents were telling you about us. We didn't care. Well, we did care, but we let that ride. But we've known for decades that black immigrants from the Caribbean and from Africa delineate themselves from us. Also, Afro-Latinos. We know it. Oh, we knows it. Okay. But yeah, we let that slide for a long time. But now, you delineate it, now we're going to delineate. Because at the end of the day, black Americans are still Americans. You're still immigrants.
Save yourself, black man.